Cool. Well, thank you all for coming. This is Introduction to Mac Triage and Troubleshooting. I'm Mike Solin. I'm also flammable on Twitter, if you follow Twitter at all. I've been an Apple certified Macintosh technician since 2008, and I've worked for two different Apple specialists, Apple authorized service providers in Philadelphia. Currently, well, starting in a couple weeks, I'll be working for Penn State with Rusty over there in the classroom and lab computing department. Are you guys? Thank you. Are you guys getting feedback?
Yeah, a little bit.
Is it okay? Is it better? Okay. So let's get started. The goal of the session is quick diagnostics, being able to quickly be able to diagnose a computer, be able to run some quick troubleshooting steps, save yourself some time, save some money, save the user from unnecessary downtime, and save yourself the hassle of having to take the computer somewhere and get it fixed. So we're going to start with quick fixes. The three things that I would cover first are resetting the PRAM, resetting the SMC, and swapping the RAM. And then we'll get into software and stuff afterwards. So resetting the PRAM, you can do this on any Mac, Intel Macs, PowerPC Macs, and it clears out many settings. Screen resolution, brightness, date and time, volume, network. User settable settings, user configurable settings, but sometimes they can sort of get messed up. So it's useful when you have like a blank or a blurry screen, the time's not sticking, or you don't have any sound. For instance, if you have a computer that has no display and you reset the PRAM and you then have a display, the brightness is probably just all turned all the way down. So how to reset the PRAM? This is the same on every single computer. You turn on the computer, and then you hold down Command, Option, P, and R until you've heard 2 chimes. And then release all the keys and let the machine boot. Resetting the SMC. The SMC is for Intel Macs only. PowerPCs had something else, but I'm not going to cover PowerPCs. So and the SMC handles power-based functions. So unlike the PRAM, you don't set them. For instance, if the machine's not powering on or the battery's not charging, resetting the SMC can solve those problems. You don't really configure whether it charges the battery or not. It sort of should just work. So hopefully resetting the SMC will get that working again. And there are 3 different ways to reset the SMC, depending on the computer model. And I'm going to cover those, starting with the removable battery. Laptops that have a removable battery, it's basically everything Apple made except for the MacBook Air for 2009. So you want to shut down the computer, unplug the power adapter and remove the battery, and press and hold the power button for 5 seconds. And you want to reconnect the power adapter and the battery and press the power button to turn on the computer.
Go back to that.
Oh, sure.
You go faster.
All this is going to be available, like, I'm going to put the presentation, it's going to be on iTunes U and stuff too. Okay. For computers with the built-in battery, it's a bit different since you can't remove the battery to reset the SMC. There's actually a key combination for that. So you want to shut down the computer. And on the left side of the keyboard, you want to press Shift, Control Option, and then press the power button. And you want to hold all those keys down, press the power button, and then release all the keys at the same time. Press the power button, should turn on the computer, unless something else is wrong with the computer. For desktops, this is actually the easiest. Shut down the computer, unplug the power cord, wait 15 seconds, and then plug in the power cord. Press the power button. And the crazy thing is that every time you unplug a computer to move it or bring it in for service or something, it's going to reset the SMC anyway. So it doesn't hurt anything to reset the SMC. So swapping RAM, that's the third thing I would try in general for hardware troubleshooting. And it's easy and it's cheap. You can keep spare chips when you're upgrading the machines. I usually like to keep a couple of each type handy, just because a lot of stuff turns out to be RAM, but it doesn't look like it's RAM in the first place. So it really can't hurt. It doesn't take a lot of time to do. And it's useful when you get things like error beeps at startup. That's almost always RAM. But sometimes you'll get, like, when the computer powers on but doesn't have anything on the screen. For laptops, for instance, you'll get the sleep light will glow, but you won't get anything on the screen. You won't get a chime. You won't hear the optical drive making noises or anything. So swapping RAMs, I think it's worthwhile. It takes a little bit more time than the other two, but I would...
So like if you had that situation, power's on, doesn't do, you would actually probably try the reset SMC or whatever first before you come into this, or
It depends.
you would go straight to this?
You could... The SMC takes so little time, I would probably do the SMC, but you can switch things up a little bit if you want. So, so determining if you have a software versus a hardware problem. The way to do that is having another OS at your disposal that you can boot the computer from, that you know is good, that is a clean installation, or you know exactly what you've customized in it. And I'd recommend a USB hard drive, but flash drives are even better. They're faster, they're small, portable. You can drop them and nothing will happen to them. But you're going to want 16 gigs, which up until recently have been kind of expensive. So install Clean OS, update it, put utilities on there and stuff. And if you have NetBoot, that's even better. And I found this really helped. I would go on site, and you could have 10.5, 10.6 just sitting in your pocket, you know, with all sorts of various utilities. Very convenient, a lot easier than carrying around a hard drive. And again, if you bump into something or drop it, you know, nothing. Whereas a hard drive, it's probably toast, you know. Less of a burden. So if the problem happens on your known good OS, you're probably looking at a hardware problem because you've already rolled out the OS, and vice versa. If the problem doesn't happen in your OS, then you're probably looking at an operating system problem or something. You're running an application or preference or something. So the basics of software troubleshooting, there's several steps we can try. I'm going to start with the least obtrusive and the fastest, and then go from there. Booting into safe mode is really quick. You just hold down the shift key when you start up the computer, and that disables all non-essential system extensions. So like Ethernet will work, but Airport won't. It also clears out caches. And next I would reinstall the latest combo updater. That replaces a lot of system files that, especially for something like 10.6, where so much has changed since 10.6.0 to 10.6.8. It'll replace a lot of files that otherwise might be causing problems. Next, I would reinstall the OS. That's a lot different with 10.6 and 10.7 than it was in previous versions, in that a lot of programs will continue running, whereas with 10.5 it was a totally different process that kind of broke a lot of stuff. The archive and install, if you're familiar. And after that, probably nuke preferences, check the logs, actually dig in deeper. And if the other stuff, I wouldn't always do the other stuff first, but just talking in general, this is the order that I would probably go in. But if it still doesn't work, your quick fixes didn't help, you've determined it's not a software problem, before you send out the machine, check it for a spill. Spills happen all the time. Saw tons and tons and tons of spills. And they're not covered by AppleCare. Apple will quote you for this, actually. And in general, it's not usually worth fixing the machine. Sometimes you can get away with a keyboard or a top case, but you have to make absolutely sure that nothing else in there was touched, because if you replace the top case and it takes you a couple hours, and then you find out you have a bad logic board, you're out a lot of time, the part that you bought, all that stuff. When you swap RAM on a MacBook or a MacBook Pro, it's actually a really good time to take a closer look inside the machine, because you have just the whole thing out in front of you. So detecting a liquid spill, you can check for stains on the outside of the computer, especially by the keyboard and by the ports. Another place is actually by the rear vent. A lot of times you'll have like liquid on the desk that will seep into the back. You want to inspect the logic board for stains or corrosion, because if the logic board's toast, that and the display are the most expensive parts in the machine. So it's not really worth fixing if either of those got hit. Does the computer smell overwhelmingly like wine or coffee?
Beer.
Oh, beer, water, although it doesn't really have a smell. And is the computer dripping? This has totally happened, where you have a computer that comes in and then you pick it up and there's a puddle on the desk afterwards. People tend to actually deny they have a spill, so it's really up to you to go in there and check it out. I've seen Cheese Whiz, shampoo. I've seen people have I guess a leaky roof or a ceiling, and it drips into the back of an iMac, like the vent in the iMac. And yeah. So I'd say coffee, wine, and water, by far the most common. So, and at some point, you're going to have to draw the line and stop repairing old stuff. Many computers just aren't worth fixing. You can't get parts anymore for a lot of machines. So, almost all these computers were brought in for repair. Some of them were brought in for data transfers to a newer machine, but kind of past the point where that's reasonable. And don't get me wrong, they're all very cool computers. I just wouldn't use them for anything serious anymore. And seriously, that was my second ever machine at 6400. Is that? And that, you see a whole lot. Icons just stacked upon icons. And that one's actually, what's up?
Is that an SI?
CI.
CI?
Yeah. Interesting thing. What was it, like 3 or 4 years after they came out? Apple sold a kit that you could upgrade it to a Quadra just by replacing the logic board in it.
Yeah.
Found that really interesting. They don't really do that kind of stuff anymore.
There was a website that said what the original costs were of Apple computers. I think that CI was like $7,000.
I can see why you'd want to upgrade it rather than replace it. And I used to work at a shop that also did typewriters, so this stuff was everywhere. So, any questions? Wow.
How much of the RAM changing do you do through the years that our school has been an in-house repair? Sorry. We've been doing our own repairs for a few years now, and I don't see as much as the RAM swapping need that you see. But having worked where you work, you've seen a lot of that, where you swap out a lot of RAM, and you've seen a lot of problems directly related to RAM?
A lot of the time you'll get, you're familiar with the machines that had the problems with the NVIDIA chips, the MacBook Pros?
Yeah, sure.
A lot of times a machine will come in for that, and it ends up that it just had bad RAM, but you really can't tell until you swap out the RAM. A lot of times you'll get like kernel panics and stuff that you would suspect a logic board for, but it's actually bad RAM.
We had that on the G5 white iMacs. Not the first ones, I think the third gens. We had a lot of that, but that was only that one specific model and time. Other than that, I don't really, I haven't seen it.
I've seen a lot of those where it's actually bad RAM, but because there was built-in RAM on those models,
Yeah.
it's just a bad logic board.
Thanks.
I had a question about, you mentioned your certifications when you were getting started. So for those of us that don't have certifications but are interested in knowing what the process is and what types of things we should study or know, or what the process is for applying for certification or what exams are required, can you outline how you came to be certified?
Sure. So I actually got certified before I had a job working as a technician. I did that. There's a place up in Rhine Cliff, New York, Business Rules Inc. There's a bunch of the places like that. At the time, there were so few. Took the trip up. Shelley Wiener, awesome. I did a lot of hands-on. I fixed an eMac and went through, took the test at the end. Back then, it was 2 separate tests for desktops and laptops, but it's now just 1 test for hardware, and then I think there's a support OS, general support and OS test. And once you pass those, you're certified. And you got to renew it once a year. And
And the fees for the exams, do you know what those were?
I know the research tests are like, I think it's 100. What's up?
I think the research are 50. The initial exam is 150.
50
That makes sense.
for research, 150 for original.
Yeah. The original is not open book, but the research are. I just got mine.
The original
Year
is
ago.
not open book.
It's not open book.
Is there anything local around here where you're living now?
You mean State College?
Yeah, is there anything in the central PA or in central New York State?
Mine?
I don't know.
Do you mind if I?
Yeah, please.
So I am also certified, but I got certified in a little different way. We got a self-servicing account at the College of Education at Penn State here, and with the self-servicing account, you have access to training materials on GSX, Apple's Global Service Exchange website. And you can run through the training materials and get all of the material you need to pass the tests, and then you can take them at a Prometrics center in State College. And I did that. And then I did research online.
Have you guys had any problems with the GSX lately? I have not been able to get in for months.
GSX2?
GSX2.
Oh, yeah.
Every day for the last.
GSX2?
I haven't had a need to be in it recently. I don't know.
I've used it. My understanding is that they're aware that it needs help, and they're working on it. Like apparently they really want to work on it, and they're very understanding.
I can't even send him an email. I don't even know who to talk to.
We don't have an account executive yet, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point I don't have GSX access, but
Web
I
link?
remember there's
It's gsx.apple.com, although I don't know if you can
Or
get.
gsx2.apple.com.
I'm sorry,
oh,
correct,
no,
that's the new one.
they moved it back to GSX.
Oh, they did?
apple.com.
Okay.
But what you want to do is talk to your Apple account executive about becoming a self-service account, and then you can do the tests or do in-warranty repairs.
That might be why you can't get in. I worked with somebody who ran into the same thing where he thought it was still GSX2. I'm not saying that that's what
I've
you're
tried
doing.
both of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think they do like a redirect too, because they were going back and
Error
forth.
for about a 3-week period where it didn't, and then they started. The first day they did, and then it went to an error, and then it went down. That's just what we saw.
Last year I heard the first GSX, somebody told me that it was hosted on an Xserve in a warehouse somewhere, and every time it broke down, somebody had to get in a car and drive to it.
Just one?
Just
That
one.
would explain the speed.
Oh yeah,
That can't be true.
I believe it.
I would hope that wouldn't be true.
Anyone else?
Do you have any other like good websites to go to for hardware tips on Macs?
Oh, yeah, it's my next slide.
Cool.
Actually, I'll bring that up. So the first is actually this book, which is out of print. I tried to look it up on PeachBit's website, and it's no longer available. It looks like they updated. I have the 2007 edition, and it looks like they updated in 2010, and it's just been out of print. But this one at least covers like the end of the PowerPCs, like the G5 towers and stuff, and the first couple Intel Macs, so like 2006, maybe 2007, although I'm not sure. But it's a lot of general troubleshooting and stuff like that. And a lot of the stuff hasn't changed since then. Some of it has, but mostly it's about the same. And the other one, Accelerate Your Mac. I don't know if he works, the guy who runs that, I'm not sure if he works as a consultant, but a lot of the stuff he has on the website is very, I don't know how to put it. It's not what Apple would recommend. So you can get a lot of, information that you otherwise wouldn't get from Apple. I was reading the other day, and he was talking about taking Mac Pro video cards and putting them in the oven and baking them to fix the solder points. Absolutely not something Apple would recommend, but he's got tons of that stuff. Fixing your own iBook, again, solder points. And of course, Apple's support website, which if you have GSX access, there's tons more articles in there, like for certified technicians that are working under a self-service.
Do you have any recommendations or that you've used for like software third-party utilities and like diagnosing like common issues like bad blocks on hard drives and finding those out and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. For hard drives, Smart Utility. I can't remember the name of the company. Starts with the V, I think, but that is the best for. I think their metrics are actually different than the official like smart metrics, which is why you can open that up with a failing hard drive and see that it's actually in the process of failing, whereas Apple's Smart Check will totally say it's fine. Because Smart is like a series of tests, and whether they fall into certain ranges or so many errors, I think their utility is a bit more sensitive, or the metrics are different. No, I think it's pretty cheap though. Maybe like $20 or something.
25 is the first one.
Mm-hmm. Pretty nice. Disk Warrior, I like Disk Warrior a lot. And Drive Genius, although the demo lets you do surface scans, and that's all I really use it for. So demo's pretty nice.
Just as another resource, I'm not certified, but I still need to be able to get into machines and swap parts when clients call. I've had really good luck with, at a minimum, using ifixit.com.
I like
They've got
iFixit.
great teardowns that are often available in PDFs, so you can save them to your iPad and have them when you need them. If you don't have access to the take-apart guides that Apple provides, they're the next best thing, in my opinion, and sometimes even better from a teardown perspective. Usually if you can track down specific part numbers, again, if you're not certified and don't have access to the parts database, then as long as you can get an Apple part number, Google's your friend, and they're often quite reputable sellers on Amazon or eBay or wherever you happen to be that can help out with that too.
I actually met the iFixit guys at Macworld last year. Really nice people. It's crazy. They're in the business of giving away the manuals and then selling the parts. So
Yeah, their prices reflect that.
they're very enthusiastic though about giving away that kind of information. Really nice.
What about third-party memory diagnostic utility?
There's one called Rember, Rember. I like that. That'll do like actual full RAM tests.
There is a charge for it, but it's not for that, as I recall.
I couldn't remember if it was free or not.
Yeah, it used to be free a long, long time ago. The newer version that works on Intel, it's a small charge.
Is that the same as the MTest OSX?
I think so. Something like maybe it uses memtest, but it just puts a GUI on it. Memtest is of course, if you're comfortable with command line, memtest is the way to go.
You can also get it installed if you download an app called Applejack, which you can boot to from single user mode that automates a lot of the trashing of. I was saying that another great tool to have is Applejack, which is available from SourceForge and gives you like a nice text menu of 5 different options for blowing away caches and things. And they bundle in a copy of memtest OSX, which can be very helpful. And I think otherwise they kind of ask for a donation, but that's a way to potentially get around that, at least in the short term. Although I'd recommend donating if you really like it.
I'm still, have they released the 10.7 version yet?
I can find out. I don't know for sure.
I like Applejack. I kind of miss running it on my own machine.
Yeah, I agree.
Problem is Apple changes everything under the hood every time, and he has no idea until it comes out.
I'm on the SourceForge site, and I think the last version was July 2010. Yeah, so it might be kind of old. I had a couple other things that I do. Blowing away profiles. Sometimes a profile will go bad, and just blowing away, just recreating will kind of fix someone's problem. Computer.
Like a user account?
Yeah, just the whole profile. And then just running disk-util and just checking the permissions. And I guess those are just standard stuff, so anyway.
Be surprised. Permissions, repairing the permissions does, like when you've checked everything else and you just run permissions, sometimes that actually fixes the problem. Anyone else? Okay, well, this is me. Trying to keep a blog now, going into customizing an OS. Like when you take the flash drive and you put the OS on there and you throw disk order and all that stuff in there. Trying to get into that, because you can really slim down an OS. It's a lot of files you really don't need in a troubleshooting OS, like the voices and stuff. So, yeah, thank you all for coming.